This is Mountaintop History, a podcast produced by the Thomas Jefferson Foundation at Monticello.
Mountaintop History brings forward meaningful stories from this historic home and plantation, from the past and from the present.
My name is Kyle Chattleton.
And I'm Olivia Brown.
Thank you for joining us. We hope you'll learn something new. As we approach Thanksgiving, today's podcast will focus on a myth surrounding the United States of America, Benjamin Franklin, and turkeys. You may have heard the story before that Benjamin Franklin surprisingly suggested that instead of the bald eagle being one of the new country's symbols, the national bird, Franklin preferred turkeys. This story is not true, but the myth and the history surrounding it is worth telling. Let's start with some history. On July 4th, 1776, members of the Continental Congress in Philadelphia not only ratified the text of the Declaration of Independence, but they also appointed Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, and Benjamin Franklin to a committee tasked, quote, to bring in a device for a seal for the United States of America. According to Adams, each one of them came up with different ideas. Franklin, for example, wished for a national seal depicting, quote, Moses lifting up his wand and dividing the Red Sea, and Pharaoh in his chariot overwhelmed with the waters, along with the motto, rebellion to tyrants is obedience to God. Jefferson similarly had designs that included a biblical pillar of fire leading the children of Israel in the wilderness, while Adams looked to the ancient Greek story of Hercules for inspiration. The design that the three ultimately submitted was a combination of their respective ideas, including the motto, E pluribus unum. The design was tabled by the Continental Congress, and as time went on, two more committees were formed for the purpose of creating a national seal, and all of them failed in finding wider approval. Finally, in June of 1782, Charles Thomson, Secretary of the Confederation Congress, looked at the work of the three separate committees and transformed their ideas into a more familiar design, which included an eagle with an olive branch in one talon and arrows in the other. This ultimately would become the Great Seal of the United States, and it led to the bald eagle becoming the national bird. So where did the myth that Benjamin Franklin wanted a great seal with turkeys in it come from? The source of this myth appears to be, in part, Franklin himself. In 1784, Franklin wrote a letter to his daughter, Sarah Batch, about his disapproval of the Society of Cincinnati, a fraternal organization created in America in 1783, which had a bald eagle serve as its symbol. According to Franklin, the eagle design that they used was more akin to a turkey, and Franklin used the opportunity to have a joke at their expense involving the two birds. Quote, others object to the bald eagle as looking too much like a turkey. For my own part, I wish the bald eagle had not been chosen as the representative of our country. He is a bird of bad moral character. He does not get his living honestly. You may have seen him perched on some dead tree near the river, where, too lazy to fish for himself, he watches the labor of the fishing hawk. And when that diligent bird has at length taken a fish and is bearing it to his nest for the support of his mate and young ones, the bald eagle pursues him and takes it from him. With all this injustice, he is never in good case but like those among men who live by sharping and robbing. Besides, he is a rank coward. The little king bird, not bigger than a sparrow, attacks him boldly and drives him out of the district. He is therefore by no means a proper emblem for the brave and honest Cincinnati of America, who have driven all the king birds from our country, though exactly fit for that order of knights. I am on this account not displeased that the figure is not known as a bald eagle, but looks more like a turkey. For in truth, the turkey is, in comparison, a much more respectable bird, and withal a true original native of America. Eagles have been found in all countries, but the turkey was peculiar to ours, the first of the species seen in Europe being brought to France by the Jesuits from Canada and served up at the wedding table of Charles IX. He is besides, though a little vain and silly, a bird of courage, and would not hesitate to attack a grenadier of the British Guards who should presume to invade his farmyard with a red coat on. As Emily Sneff at the Harvard University Declaration Resources Project explains, quote, Franklin isn't directly rebuking the Great Seal of the United States. He is rebuking the insignia of the Cincinnati. He isn't calling for the turkey to be the symbol of the nation, but he is drawing an interesting parallel. Membership in the Society of the Cincinnati was hereditary, and although the society was founded by heroes of the American Revolution, the notion of a hereditary society seemed to Franklin and others to be un-American. This is why Franklin calls the bald eagle lazy, a quote, king bird. As time went on, the context of this letter and Franklin's thoughts about eagles and turkeys became lost to some. In 1962, artist Anatoly Kovarsky created a cover for the New Yorker magazine depicting the Great Seal of the United States with a turkey in the middle of it, replacing the bald eagle. According to a few sources, including the Smithsonian, it seems that this cover popularized the myth of Franklin, turkeys, and national birds in America. Nevertheless, it makes for a good story, and it's easy to see why the myth grew in popularity, yet also clouded the more complicated, yet still interesting story of how the Great Seal of America came to be and Franklin's multiple roles in the nation's early history.
This has been another episode of Mountaintop History, a collaboration podcast between WTJU and the Thomas Jefferson Foundation.
Join us for new episodes every 2 weeks on Apple and Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and the Virginia Audio Collective.
To learn more about Monticello or to plan your next trip, visit us online at monticello.org.